So apparently, they want us to think that Dritz Do'Urden killed himself while imprisoned in Icewind Dale, and that Morwind Daggerford is only in prison for smuggling halflings to Do'Urden's private island in the Moonshades for his own personal use. Daggolt Neverember must think we are all fools if he thinks the people of Neverwinter are going to forget his campaign promises, and those of his staff, to release the Do'Urden files and reveal which lords of Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate were flying to Do'Urden's island so that they could have sexual relations with the poor innocent halflings being held captive there. Perhaps Forge Fitzwilliam was telling the truth, that the real reason why the Do'Urden files have not been released yet, as promised, is because they reveal too much about Lord Neverember's own connections to Dritz via their mutual connections on Mintarn. Do you think it's just a coincidence that Mintarni troops are stationed here in Neverwinter's capital? The only reason we attacked Calimport is because Mintarn wanted us to, and they'd have us embroil ourselves in another war with Zakara if they had their way. And if anybody questions it, or points out that Calimport did not in fact have any weapons of magic destruction, as we had all been told by the previous owners of the Lost Crown of Neverwinter, well then, they'll just accuse you of anti-goblinism and shut down your racebook account. I guess we can just be glad we don't live in Yartar, where the authorities are more concerned about people posting racist comments in the town square than they are in the smuggling network pushing Kraken worship on poor neighborhood kids. At least Neverember has been carrying out his promises to deport all the tieflings and orcs who are only here to replace the native human demographics, take our jobs, and make everyone live under Tanari law. Not in my country, buddy. This is the Sword Coast, and if you don't like it, you can just get out. And now the dwarves are getting all uppity because Neverember threatened to annex Gonsalgrim. I mean, come on, fellers. We already subsidize your defense budget since you just want to import half the world's lizard folk and put them on welfare. We may have to cut you loose if you can't learn how to play ball. Karatur has put its own tariffs on Neverwinter goods. I don't know, man. I'd hate to think that Lord Neverember would have just lied to us for the sake of gaining the throne back. Who would do such a thing? But now Neverember and Fitzwilliam are enemies, and we're getting the runaround about what Dritz Do'Urden was up to on his island. Baldur's Gate's economy is doing well, despite us saying that invading Amn would ruin them. There's homeless dragonborn everywhere now. And now my son thinks he's one of them half-elves and wants us to call him Elrond. This ain't the Sword Coast I grew up in. Word is the government in the Dale Lands is trying to keep a lid on the Harpers, to keep word from spreading that the people of the Dale Lands have been clashing with Kenku immigrants on the streets. Seems like the old days when it was just us humans, elves, dwarves, and halflings weren't so bad after all. At least we were all white. Now don't get me wrong, I got no problem with people from Karatur or Chult. You do you, buddy, just keep it over there. This is the Sword Coast, goddammit. We practice values passed down to us from our ancestors in Icewind Dale. That's why we can't tolerate peoples from Zakara coming up in here trying to tell us that civilization actually started in Hazuz and they invented maths and shit. Tossing half-elves off rooftops for like an elf-born. I mean, I may hate my half-elf son, but I wouldn't want to be tossing him off no roof when we have perfectly good summer camps for kids like him to convert them back into being attracted to other humans. Perhaps I should just give up and move to some place quiet, in the country, like Longsaddle. No, I can't do it. My ancestors died fighting to take this land from the heathen centaurs. We can't just give up now and let tieflings and half-elves run the place, corrupting our kids by telling them that they can play as any race and class combination they want, regardless of if they meet the ability score requirements. What is this, 5th edition? No way, no how. I run a tight 2nd edition household. I tell you what, just like Gygax intended. What you say? Well, yeah, my wife is a drow, and she was raised in a devout Vampire the Masquerade household. But we're raising our half-elf son to be, well, I guess we were raising our half-elf son to believe in good human values. Never should have let him go to that Queen Alma concert on Evermeet, that elf harlot. My wife said it was fine. It is just what elven culture is like. But the boy hasn't been the same since then. Now he's taping points to his ears and wearing elven cloaks out in public. He's a laughing stock. But look, whether or not you want to believe that there was nothing going on Dritz Island, you can't blame Neverember for half a silvery moon burning down. That was their own poor water mismanagement. You know how elves are. Why did I marry one? Well, hold on a minute, bud. I'll have you know I married a drow, not just some elf. The drow are actually pretty on board with how we feel about elves, and they still believe in traditional household roles. They haven't been turned into a bunch of feminists by the hoppers like human women have. Nah, having a drow wife is great. It must be what it was like to be married back in 3rd edition. Look, it ain't like I'm going to vote for a tiefling anyway. I'm just saying, it would be nice if Neverember would release those files, or at least scapegoat and execute someone on his staff to make it look like he's doing something. And put Neverwinter first, goddammit, and stop funding Minton. I don't care if it is anti-goblinometic. Oh, and maybe not deport the tieflings we need to work on our farms. Humans want to be paid too much, and without tiefling labor, we can't survive since slavery was banned from the Discord servers. And stop teaching our kids about elves in school. They're too young to make those sorts of decisions. And now my son thinks he's a half-elf. Well, technically he's half-drow, I'll have you know. And I mean more like as in being culturally elven. Why, you some sort of half-elf lover? This is the Sword Coast, motherfucker. And you can take your red thay commie ass out of my house.